All right, so we have a working prototype where we are listing the modules, and we can click on it and select it. What we'd like to be able to do is display the lessons for that particular module, right? Okay, so let's do that. Let's create here a lesson tab. So here we'll create another directory that has lessons, and under lessons we'll create a new component called lesson tabs. Right? So in lesson tabs, let's import React from React, and then export default class lesson tabs that extends React.component. And in here, let's do a render and do a return that returns for now. It'll just be an H3 lesson tabs. Okay? All right, so back in module list, we could import that tab. So lesson tabs from, we're going to have to go up one and down to lessons, and then lesson tabs. So down here, we're going to render lesson tabs. So lesson tabs. All right, so we have the lessons tabs at the bottom. Obviously, we want to display them side by side as opposed to up and down, but that's Bootstrap. So I'd like to be able to display here the lessons depending on the module that I select down here, up here, right? So what we could do here is that we can pass down here the module, right? Or actually we can pass in the lessons, and the lessons would be what lessons? The lessons would be this dot props dot course dot modules sub what? The current selected module, right? Which is this dot state dot selected module index. That's the module, right? And I can pass in. Well, actually, let's pass the module instead. Let's pass the module. So let's pass the module, because the lessons might want to display the title of the module, perhaps, on the right-hand side. So on the lesson tabs here, let's make sure that we have an actual module. So we have this dot props dot module dot title. I'm sure that we have the module. There it is, module 1. Or if I click, notice that it changes, right? Notice that it changes depending on the module that I click on. But more important, what I'd like to be able to know, if do I have the lessons? Are the lessons here? And again, they're not, right? Because we're not keeping track of that at the parent level, right? So we need to go back to our course editor up here and display that modules, not only does it have a title, but it also has lessons, which is an empty array of objects. And each object has a title, and we know it's going to happen again for topics, so might as well just do topics now. So topics, again, an empty array where each topic has a title, and that's it. Topics only have titles. All right, so there it is. So notice that now we do have that it has 2 lessons. For number 1, I thought this had a different number of lessons. Oh no, it was topics, right? The topics had 3 topics and 2 topics. I wanted to display that, but I guess we won't have time for that. But nevertheless, let's look at the lesson tabs. Let's look at the lesson tabs. And what I'd like to be able to do here is render here as a UL. We want to iterate over the this.props.module.lessons.map. So iterate over all these lessons, and this is going to retrieve. Is going to call me with lessons and the index of the elements. And as I iterate over this, I'm going to return a brand new LI whose key is going to be the index, and the content will be the lesson title. The lesson title. Let's see what's complaining. Oh, this is supposed to be a parentheses, not a. There we go. Right. So there we go. So we have lessons for module 1 or lessons for number 2. Right. So and these change. Right. They're dynamic. As I change the parent, it changes all the children. Right. You can repeat this again for topics. Right. Where you have a topic pills that are based on the selected lesson. Right? The selected lesson would have maintained state, which one has been selected, and then pass the lesson that you want to display, and the topics would iterate over the topics in the lesson. Okay, so let's clean this up just a little bit. Actually, no. Let's not clean it up. Let's just go on and see what the topics might look like. So we would need to handle an on-click here, on-click of selecting the on-click would call on what? It would call select lesson and would pass the index of the lesson that I'm selecting. That would need to be handled here in select lesson, and this is the index, and we would set the state. We would say that this dot set state of what? The selected lesson index would be equal to the index, right? But we don't have a state. We never set up the state. So let's set up the state. So this will be in the constructor. Is the props. Super props, and we'll initialize the state to have the selected lesson index initialized to be 0. Right, and then now we can make sure that this is changing. So this dot state dot selected lesson index, and make sure that. Select lesson is not defined. It's not defined. Why is it not defined? Oh, maybe. Render. Oops. There we go. No. Lesson tab. Select lesson is not defined. Select is not defined. Maybe this is this dot select lesson. Okay, so I can select the different lessons, right? And it changes over time. Make sense? All right. So let's see how this would feed into the topics. Let's go look at that real quick.